Well, I may need to revise my original prediction for the Steam Machine price because it seems like every one of these interviews that Valve, either a spokesperson or these engineers are going on, and the Steam Machine price point comes up, alarm bells go up online, and people are going, oh, wait, maybe this thing is going to come in a much more expensive than we were expecting. Now, look, I will say some people are maybe a bit out there and they're like, oh, it's $1,000 or more. And then some are way too optimistic and they're thinking it's $400 or less. I think it's somewhere in the middle, of course. And right now, they're trying to kind of home in on where Valve's mindset is, but also the feasibility to price this thing at least somewhat affordable. Let's take a look at what Valve said recently that once again has people speculating on a higher than expected price point, and how there is still one wild card that Valve could play to maybe justify that higher price, because this thing still needs a game, and the speculation around that has reached a fever pitch. And it could actually happen with Valve maybe tapping an old franchise we haven't seen in quite some time. But all that and more, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Let's head over here. This is posted on The Gamer. They are citing SkillUp with his Friends Per Second podcast. Now, on this podcast, they did talk to a couple of Valve engineers about the Steam Machine in general. But then, yes, pricing came up. And Valve has to know this. Any of these interviews or podcasts that they go on, pricing is coming up. We don't know it yet. We want to know what it is, or at least get an idea as to how we are going to view this system after the announcement, because we already know the specifications for this device, and it all hinges on if we are going to view it as something that's not living up to its price point, or something that comes in at a lower price and we go, okay, that's not bad. Even for those specs, you know what? They had to cut corners. They had to get it within a certain price window. So it all comes down to the price, how we view this thing, and say the 8 gigabytes of VRAM. All right. So naturally, we're trying to get any kind of indication as to which way we're going with this. So when asked about the price point, they said, I think that if you build a PC from parts and get to basically the same level of performance, that's the general price window we aim to be at. Ideally, we'd be pretty competitive with that and have a pretty good deal, but we're working on refining that as we speak. And right now, it's just a hard time to have a really good idea of what the price is going to be, because there's a lot of different things, a lot of external things. Now, when asked about the idea of subsidizing, like, oh, you're not going to subsidize this thing, are you? You're going to look to sell this to make money. They basically agreed. It's like, no, this is not really going to be subsidized. It's more in line with what you expect from the current PC market. Now, subsidizing a product isn't new from a game consoles perspective. However, Valve has just used the term PC to describe this thing ever since they first unveiled it. But I mean, a lot of us will look at it as a PC console, because very clearly it's shaped like a GameCube, so it's trying to fit into the living room, obviously. In fact, Valve has even mentioned in this very interview that one of the features they were working on were things like HDMI CEC, so it can talk to your TV and turn on and set everything up when you turn the system on with a controller. Yeah, that's a big thing. It's something I ran into when I made that little Steam box with the Steam OS and using the RX 560. I looked around and said, wow, this is something that really hasn't been solved well. There are some methods to do it. I think one that's brought up is, you remember that old USB dongle that we had for old Xbox One controllers that did not have Bluetooth compatibility? And you had to buy this thing. And I think it was also for Xbox 360 controllers. But the Xbox One USB dongle will turn your system on, because you can set it up for Wake on USB or whatever, and then it will power up when it syncs from there. Unfortunately, Bluetooth doesn't really have that same effect from what I'm seeing, and it just really wasn't something that was straightforward, and certainly not something most people would be setting up. But Valve has gone through the trouble to make sure that is functional, along with the HDMI CEC, because they want it to be in the living room. That's really the prime focus and location for, again, what's what's kind of being shown off as a console, but is being described as a PC. So with that in mind, the idea of subsidizing this, it's been brought up, but also shot down. Valve is looking to make money on this thing. They're not doing what a Microsoft or Sony would do, where they will introduce it at a cheaper price point and at times lose money on it to then make it up in the back end, because the Steam machine is open. You could buy this thing and never buy anything through Steam. Maybe you really like Windows and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to load Windows and I'll use it for Game Pass, and that's that. You could do that. And that's one of the big things that Valve is pushing with the Steam Deck and the Steam machine is it's kind of your PC to do what you want with it. And we're not going to tie you down like Sony would say for the PlayStation 5. If you buy a PS5 from them, they know you're going to the PlayStation 5 store to buy games, and they'll get money off each purchase. Even if you go to a retail store and buy a physical copy, guess what? They're getting money from that too. So that's the idea. They close you into this specific ecosystem and make money over the long run, but they have to get you the system. That's not really how Valve's operating here. So they will look to make money on this. And if they're making money on it, they probably also won't care if they sell 1 million systems, 2 million systems, because they're not in a rush to get 30 million of them out there, since it's not necessarily them locking you down to a certain ecosystem. All right. So that then kind of throws off the prediction for me anyway, where I have this thing at $599, $600. I still think that's a good price point, because eventually if you go too far above that price point, I feel like if you eclipse 700, you start to leave behind, I think, a more mainstream audience that might be interested in PC gaming, but is mostly tied to their living room for playing games and stuff, right? You start to leave them behind, but then this thing isn't powerful enough, I feel like, to approach the like hardcore enthusiast PC crowd who would rather just spend a couple $100 more and build their own box that they can put in their living room or at their desk, and maybe tinker around with SteamOS themselves, certainly tinker around with Linux. So it puts it in this very weird, almost no man's land, if that's the path for them. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned that there is a wild card that Valve could play. And it's becoming more and more possible as the days go by, because we are getting information constantly around the idea of Half-Life 3 really being a thing. And I know. You're looking at this like, come on, let's be real here. Half-Life 3. So it does appear that there is something Half-Life related that's been going on in development at Valve for quite some time. People have been documenting this. It's this HLX, okay? And it seems like that's being tied more and more to Half-Life 3. I mean, it's been in development for years now, and there are entire like web pages and stuff that are. It really looks like Charlie Day with his red string and conspiracy theory meme. Kind of looks like that, but they have a ton of really good information, and it's really tying this all together into it, the minimum being a new Half-Life themed game. If Valve shows up and says, "Hey, we do have Half-Life 3. We're bundling it with the Steam machine," all right. And we'll throw a controller in. It'll be a whole bundle there. And it's $700. People will start doing the math in their head and they go, okay, well, this Steam machine is optimized for Half-Life 3. I've wanted to play Half-Life 3 for a long time, since Half-Life 2, the way it ended. It's like, okay, well, eventually there'll be another one. And it's been a long time since Half-Life 2. Great. I will check this out. Okay, it's $700. I was already going to buy the game at $60 or $70 anyway. This seems like a nice setup for the living room. I'm in. It's kind of that thing, just softens the blow of a $699 system for just the 512 gigabyte model, because you feel like you're getting added value with a game that people never thought would ever actually see the light of day. And I told you guys I would be revising my prediction a bit for this. So I'm thinking if they do bundle in Half-Life 3, a controller, it'd probably end up being $699. That is quite expensive, I understand. But the bundled in game, and here's the thing. I kind of think the other systems are going to go up in price again. As in, you might see a $699 Xbox Series X anyway, and then the PS5 would probably go up to maybe $600. All of a sudden, it's like, well, that's just kind of the market at this point. A lot of it has to do with all the data centers and rising demand. It has happened almost overnight for a lot of components and stuff that would go into setting up data centers, which then traces back to DRAM, NAND flash, all kinds of stuff there that is, yes, used in the Steam Machine, the PlayStation, the Xbox, and yeah, even mobile RAM, so the Switch 2. It is wild times right now out there. AI is running rampant, is going crazy in the market. The massive frenzy, stuff's getting bought up everywhere. Some of these companies that are providing manufacturing for DRAM and stuff already selling through the majority of their contracts for 2026. We haven't even gotten into that year yet, and it's already sold through them. So it's crazy stuff. That's one of the reasons Valve is still kind of hanging out, waiting to see what their price point's going to be, because as they say, external forces is not making it easy for them. So it's going to be interesting, but I kind of think that's where I am with it right now. Half-Life 3, it sounds weird to say it. A Half-Life game, let's go with that. A Half-Life game. I don't know if they're just going to call it Half-Life 3, but a game that's in the Half-Life universe, paired with the Steam Machine, a controller, $699.9. Let me know what you guys think about that. $700 for this device. Does that make sense? All right. Let me know down in the comments, and let me know where you are right now after hearing the media tour right now of interviews that they don't exactly sound excited when things like a $500 Steam Machine is brought up to them. But let me know your best prediction currently, where it stands for the price. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.